Welcome to another story made by Oracle 1. The sterile hum of the courthouse felt heavier than the summer air pressing against the tall windows of the deliberation room. 12 men and women sat around a scarred oak table, their faces a mixture of exhaustion, tension, and suppressed anxiety. They had spent 3 days locked in this room, scouring every piece of evidence in the case against Marcus Halden, a local businessman accused of orchestrating a deadly arson that claimed 3 lives. Now, the verdict sat on the precipice of announcement, hanging like a guillotine blade. Gloria Stewart, juror number 6, rubbed her temples, fighting the ache behind her eyes. It had been a grinding process, filled with heated arguments over pieces of circumstantial evidence and conflicting testimonies. Eventually, after hours of debate, the jury had reached a unanimous decision. The verdict was written on a folded slip of paper, sealed inside an envelope, ready to be delivered to the courtroom. Or at least it should have been. Gloria glanced around the table. 11 jurors remained. Where was Marcus Langston, juror number 4? Nobody seemed to have noticed his absence yet. Perhaps it was the early morning jitters or the dry cough she had been nursing. Gloria rose slowly from her chair and peered out of the small rectangular window that overlooked the hallway where jurors waited before entering the courtroom. The hallway was empty. Her heart quickened. "Has anyone seen Marcus?" she asked softly, trying to keep her voice steady. "Marcus? The guy with the beard and glasses?" asked Janice, juror number 9. "Yes. He was here a moment ago." There was a ripple of murmurs and a sudden rush of heads turning, scanning the room. The foreman, Samuel Grant, stood up, his face pale. "Wait here," he said before stepping outside. Minutes dragged by like hours. Gloria's eyes darted toward every shadowed corner, the elevator doors, the hallway that led to the restrooms. Though the courthouse had several exits, the building had tight security for jurors. No one was supposed to leave during deliberation. A sense of dread settled over the group. Phones had been surrendered before the trial began, so calls or messages were impossible. The courthouse officers were alerted, but there was no immediate sign of Marcus. Then a sudden, chilling thought struck Gloria. What if Marcus had simply vanished by choice? What if his disappearance was deliberate, and meant to unhinge the entire process? The foreman returned with 2 courthouse security officers trailing behind him. One of the officers, a sharp-eyed woman named Davis, addressed the jury. "We've searched the restrooms, nearby hallways, even forced the elevators to stop on every floor. No sign of Mr. Langston. This is highly unusual. No one checks out of a jury duty room without being processed." Gloria's pulse hammered in her ears. They were all aware of the gravity of this missing juror. Especially now, with a verdict ready to be announced, his disappearance threatened to nullify the entire trial. The courthouse would have to declare a mistrial or hold up proceedings. It wasn't just a matter of inconvenience. For the families of the victims, for Marcus Halden himself, and for all involved, the stakes had never been higher. As the officers finished their briefing, the courtroom clerk arrived holding the verdict envelope. "Shall we proceed with the announcement?" the clerk asked. Samuel shook his head decisively. "Not yet. Juror number 4 is missing. We cannot move forward without him." Gloria felt a cold knot form in her stomach. These proceedings were not supposed to fall apart like this. Hours passed with no new information. Court security launched a building-wide search, but the trail of Marcus Langston evaporated like mist. His belongings, including his jacket and briefcase, remained on his chair. No signs pointed to forced exit or struggle. When the judge learned of the disappearance, she looked deeply troubled. "We will recess," she declared sternly. "This will complicate matters. Court will reconvene once the juror is found or declared absent in accordance with the law." Gloria exhaled shakily and sank back into her chair. Late that night, the courthouse was nearly empty. Gloria lingered by a window overlooking the neglected courtyard, replaying the case in her mind. She remembered the uncharacteristic hesitance Marcus had shown during deliberations. He had questioned the credibility of key witnesses much more than the others, sometimes sitting silently instead of contributing. How well did any of the jurors really know him? Gloria realized she didn't know much beyond superficial facts. Marcus was an architect, newly married, and, by all accounts, a law-abiding man. But that night, Gloria felt a chill she couldn't explain. The next morning, the media descended on the courthouse. The headlines screamed, "Juror vanishes before verdict, trial in turmoil." Reporters buzzed eagerly, filling the air with speculation. Was Marcus involved in the crime? Was the disappearance a ploy? Had he been kidnapped to obstruct justice? Gloria's phone, held tightly in her hands despite court orders, buzzed with messages from friends and family. But none of that concern helped her find the missing juror. The trial's lead detective, Inspector Marcus Quinn, was assigned to the case. His name was a coincidence, but Gloria found herself strangely comforted by the authoritative presence he brought. Inspector Quinn arrived promptly the day after the disappearance. A steely-eyed man in his mid-40s with a rugged jaw and sharp features, he quickly began to question each juror meticulously. Did anyone notice unusual behavior from Mr. Langston during deliberations? Quinn asked, his voice steady but probing. Gloria shook her head. He was quiet sometimes, but nothing that would stand out. He seemed engaged, just reserved. Another juror, Carlos Mendoza, frowned. I thought he was weighing everything carefully. But now I wonder if he was hiding something. Quinn nodded slowly. Did Mr. Langston ever express doubts about the case, or show a bias for either side? Janice piped up. He was more skeptical than most, especially about the prosecution's timeline. He wanted us to focus on the possibility of a different suspect. Quinn's eyes lingered on that. That's interesting. Do you remember any names he mentioned? No, just general doubts. Gloria noticed something else then. The juror next to her, elderly Helen King, kept glancing nervously at the door. What's wrong? Gloria whispered. Helen's voice trembled. I think Marcus knows more than he's letting on. I overheard him arguing on his phone last night before he vanished. Gloria's mind raced. Why was no one else aware of that? An argument? Quinn asked sharply. Helen nodded. It sounded heated. I couldn't make out the other voice, but Marcus sounded desperate. As if someone was threatening him. Quinn jotted down notes, his expression darkening. Days turned into a week. Despite exhaustive searches inside and outside the courthouse, the disappearance remained a mystery. The trial was officially suspended. Public opinion turned, casting shadows on Marcus Halden's guilt and the legitimacy of the proceedings. Gloria decided she could no longer wait passively. Something was deeply wrong, and she needed to know the truth, both about the missing juror and the trial itself. After the jury was discharged from their official duties, Gloria reached out to Quinn. They arranged to meet late at a cafe near the courthouse. Over steaming coffee, Gloria recounted everything she remembered, emphasizing Marcus's unusual behavior and the mysterious phone call. Quinn's gaze narrowed. Your insight is valuable. No one wants the wheels of justice derailed like this. What do you think happened to him? Gloria asked. Quinn shrugged. If he vanished willingly, then he had a strong motive. If someone else took him, it's likely connected to the case. Gloria swallowed hard. What if Marcus hid something about the crime? Something that threatened someone? Quinn nodded gravely. That's what I need to find out. Let me dig into Marcus's background. Days later, Quinn returned with surprising news. Marcus Langston's past is complicated. He has a twin brother, Daniel, who disappeared 5 years ago. No one knows if Daniel's alive. Marcus changed his last name from Langston to avoid association. Gloria blinked. A twin? Why didn't we know that? Likely because Marcus kept it private. But it raises questions. Could Daniel be involved in this case or in Marcus's disappearance? Together, Gloria and Quinn started exploring the theory. They searched for any connection between Daniel and the arson case. Digging through old records, they uncovered reports of Daniel Langston's criminal record, arson, burglary, and fraud. The same M. Langston initials traced to a string of unsolved cases around the region. Was Marcus running from a brother whose past was catching up? Or was Daniel impersonating Marcus to confuse the investigation? Weeks later, a breakthrough came. A fisherman found a small, tattered notebook hidden at the edge of a forgotten dock near the river. A place Marcus sometimes mentioned taking walks after trials. The notebook contained entries filled with Marcus's neat handwriting, detailed observations about the Halden case, interspersed with cryptic references to split decisions and shadows from the past. But more troubling were the last entries. Someone is watching. They want me to disappear. Must protect the truth. If I go missing, it is because they want the verdict silenced. The notebook hinted at a conspiracy beyond the courtroom drama, a secret someone wanted buried deeply. Quinn's investigation intensified. He traced the notebook to a GPS coordinate, leading to an abandoned warehouse on the city's fringe. There, in a dimly lit, dust-choked room, they found evidence of a struggle. A broken chair, scattered papers, and, most importantly, a hidden laptop. The laptop revealed encrypted emails between Marcus and an anonymous correspondent who appeared to be threatening him to stay silent during the trial. The correspondence was laced with references to old debts and burning bridges. As Quinn decrypted the contents, Gloria shivered. The messages implicated prominent figures in town, business rivals of Marcus Halden who had everything to gain from his conviction. The motive was clearer now. If Marcus hid crucial information or threatened to expose the true culprit, his disappearance was no coincidence. Driven by this realization, Gloria and Quinn pressed harder. They interviewed witnesses, cross-referenced bank accounts, and reviewed surveillance footage from the days leading to the trial. An unexpected name surfaced: Victor Kane, a respected local judge and known competitor of Marcus Halden in real estate. Kane was at the courthouse on the day of the jury deliberation, although he claimed to be there for an unrelated matter. Further investigation revealed encrypted messages between Kane and someone identified only as DL, most likely Daniel Langston. A shadowy alliance was unfolding. Gloria's instincts screamed that the missing juror himself was caught in the crossfire. Finally, during a late-night stakeout of an abandoned cabin outside town, Quinn and a tactical team spotted subtle signs of life. Quiet movements, faint light through cracked windows, enough to warrant a cautious approach. Breaking in, they discovered Marcus Langston, emaciated but alive, shackled to a rusted pipe. The realization hit Gloria hard. He had been held captive for days, forced into silence to stop the verdict. Marcus's voice was hoarse as he whispered, "They wanted me out of the way, to control the outcome." Quinn dialed in for medical aid and protection. As Marcus recovered, he revealed the truth in fragmented pieces. Daniel had resurfaced, seeking revenge for past grievances involving the Halden family. He had colluded with Judge Kane to manipulate the trial. Marcus's disappearance was orchestrated to throw the jury into confusion, prompting a mistrial that benefited their scheme. Marcus had tried to warn the jury but feared for his safety, especially after the threatening phone calls. With this testimony and the evidence Quinn's team uncovered, prosecutors acted swiftly. They arrested Victor Kane and several accomplices, including the elusive Daniel Langston, who turned out to be the masked figure behind the arson attack. The trial was restarted with the new evidence. This time, the jury, with Marcus restored and Gloria among them, deliberated under intense media scrutiny. The true story emerged, painting a dark portrait of greed, betrayal, and justice nearly stolen. After tense hours of discussions, the verdict was finally pronounced, guilty on all counts. Outside the courthouse, Gloria felt the weight of the month's ordeal lighten. The truth had been uncovered through chaos and courage. But more than that, the experience had changed her, revealing the fragile balance between law and deception. The story of a vanished juror, a twin's shadow, and a contested verdict would become a cautionary legend in the city's history. For Gloria, justice was no longer an abstract ideal. It was a fight that required vigilance and the willingness to confront darkness wherever it hides. For more stories, like and subscribe.